And we're back to the regular way. I feel pretty confident in that software now. So we're just this, make it low tech. I'm just gonna come at you over YouTube and not make it more complicated than it has to be. Because it's more fun when it's not. Don't drop things, Jeremy. There we go. Hey, hey. All right. In 3, and 2, and 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. There's a part of me that thinks that we need to do this show 7 days a week now because the days are so blurry. But I'm not going to do that because weekends are when I sleep in. And especially given what's going on, I really enjoy waking up without an alarm. It's like one of the few things I really like about what's happening right now. You know what we did last night? We had what we called a super podcast. I spent 90 minutes broadcasting live with some caveats that I'll tell you about in a minute with senseis Ando and Jared from Fight for a Happy Life and Martial Thoughts, respectively. And the three of us talked about all kinds of great stuff, and it was the first time I had done video with Ando, and I think the first time I've publicly done video with Jared. Now, I've met Jared. We've trained together a little bit. He's a great guy. He's become a good friend, and felt like I got to know Ando a ton better. It was a blast. Now, here's the caveat. We had this great setup that we tested across several instances, and it seemed like it was all working perfectly. And then, of course, when it came time, you can only hear my audio. Ugh. So what's going on right now, my desktop in the office is converting the video. We're going to post it on Facebook. We're going to post it all over the place. I'm going to send it to the other two gentlemen. They're going to do with it whatever they will. And we will have it in our, it'll be in our podcast feed in 2 weeks. It'll be in our podcast feed in 2 weeks. So you can watch it on Facebook, and if you want the audio or you want to check it out later, it'll pop up. I'm also going to record a separate intro and outro to talk about my experience with it, just to give you a little more context. Because this is something that I'd been looking forward to. It was Jared had brought up the idea. I'd thought about it before, but good morning, Stacy. But this was finally the time to get it done. And I had a blast. And I think that'll come through. So we'll do an intro and outro, and you'll get to see more. And, yeah. All right. Yesterday, did some work that I'd been delaying, some book work. Finally took a look at how long I can last through this stuff, and honestly it's longer than I expected because I had already been tightening the belt, so I'll pat myself on the back on that one. What else did I do? Cleaned up the office, moved around a bit, had some wood delivered for a couple more garden beds. Just gonna work on those today, but the forecast last I looked was calling for snow, which is funny because I'm getting my snow tires off my car today. So I'll do that, I don't know, tomorrow, next day, whatever. And what else? What else did I do yesterday? Cleaned up a bunch, watched some TV, watched the rest of Tiger King. Such a ridiculous show. Stacy says this weekend looks good for garden beds. Good, because I really need to get outside and spend some time in the dirt. I've been doing a decent amount of plant garden stuff inside, but there's something nice about doing it outside, for sure. So what's today? Snow tires off. I have a client Zoom call. I think I'm going to try to clean up some things in here. I've been going room by room, trying to clean things up, and spent a lot of time in the kitchen yesterday. Did like 2 loads of dishes. I'm not going crazy, I promise. do the question thing. Because we got a bunch of good stuff today. So thank you to Frank. He gave us some extra jokes. He usually puts jokes only on Fridays, but he gave us 3 more. Everyone's experiencing cabin fever, so here are some bonus jokes. He says, "What did the duck say when it bought lipstick? What did the duck say when it bought lipstick? Put it on my bill." "What's the best thing about Switzerland?" "I don't know, but the flag is a big plus." "What do you call 2 monkeys that share an Amazon account?" "Primates." Good stuff, Frank. All right, April is gardening month. Where do you get your green thumb from? Patience. Most of the people I talk to who struggle with growing things, it's either because they try to do too much or they do nothing. You know, if you take watering, they either overwater the plant or they never water the plant. Most plants are pretty resilient, right? Life tries to find a way. So if you're giving them an appropriate amount of water, you're good to go. Now, what do I do to help myself with that? I have a moisture meter, a little probe that I got on Amazon for like 15 bucks. And it will tell me how moist the soil is. Because sometimes you look and you think, oh, that's fine. But 2 inches below the surface, there's no water left. Or the opposite. Top looks dry, but you get down to where the roots are and it's soaked. That's 90% of what I do. The rest of it just comes from experience and killing plants and kind of listening to them. And I don't mean listening to them like with my ears, but okay, I take this plant and I put it over here. How does it respond? Great example, my aloe plant is sitting on top of a small table over there that is over a forced air heating vent. It doesn't get as much sun as other places I've had it inside, but it responded really well despite less sun. The heat really made a difference for it. Okay, so that's where the aloe goes. That's been the best place I've found there. And then I'm constantly experimenting. I learned about these, like felt fabric pots. The idea is that you get airflow through, and I've experimented putting some things in there. And I've got a couple jades that are in there right now that love being in there. The new growth has been rapid. Cool. Okay, so we're learning about those. It's like anything else. You're constantly testing and refining. And what information can you take from it? Some plants, like the stuff I grow outside, stuff I grow from seed, I take notes. I don't just put it in the ground and assume. I label the pots, and as things start to come up, I will label the plants. So, let's say I've got a dozen tomato plants. I will mark out which ones sprouted first. And then wherever I plant them, I make note, this one sprouted first, this one sprouted second, and then I'm taking notes based on how easy they were to grow through the summer, and what about production of fruit. And then I'm kind of looking at the overall, what am I trying to breed these tomatoes for? Yeah, I want to eat them, but I want to make sure that from year to year the seed gets better. Just like everything else. It's a long process, and people assume, oh, the seeds that I'm going to get in the packet, that's as good as it's going to get. It's not, because your specific scenario is important to consider, just like everything else we do. The way a workout or food or a form impacts you and how you are, it's unique. So recognizing that it's unique and working with it instead of against it is helpful. I like growing things. I like creating in that way. And I like being able to give people plants. I give plants as gifts. I've got a ton that I'm going to have to give away because I have too many. I have too many right now. A 4-foot table in my bedroom right now that is covered in plants. 4 foot by 2 foot table And it's just, there's nowhere left. I'm out of flat surfaces to put plants. And I do kind of like it that way, I won't lie. Next. What is your favorite thing about gardening? The direct impact I have. So I mentioned saving seeds. That's something I've only been doing a few years. And last year, when I grew tomatillos, and I ended up with tomatillo plants with a stalk this big around at the base. Now, for those of you who don't know, tomatillos are generally like a tomato plant, but with green tomatoes that have a papery kind of husk on them, and it keeps the bugs off, and that's why I prefer them, because I can't grow tomatoes here. The bugs just decimate them. But that plant grew so massive that branches were splitting off from weight. It was like a tree. It was insane. First year I grew tomatillos, they didn't grow that way. But you know what? The other tomatillos I grew were also big. They weren't as big as that one, but you better believe I saved seed from that one. And from a couple others. And I'm working on growing tomatillos that are fast producing and lots of volume and sturdy plants. Cool. And so I get to guide the genetics of those seeds. And that's really fun. You know, to sit down and have tomatillo salsa that I made when I harvested last year and know that I'm going to have even more this year. It's great. It's a lot of fun. There aren't a whole lot of things where your influence has such a direct result. Martial arts is one of them. I've said often, martial arts is one of the few things in the world where you get back exactly and only what you put in. Gardening isn't quite a one-to-one ratio. Sometimes you get back more. Often you get back less than what you put in because nature. But you do have some say over it. And eating food that you grew yourself is pretty great. And Stacy's volunteering to take some of my plants. What I really want to do is trade, because a lot of the plants that I have, I split off and grow extras, and would love to get some new plants to do that with. What has gardening taught you? So I mentioned patience. Patience is definitely something that you need for gardening. What else? Process and responsibility. So last year, typically, I like starting the plants. I like putting the seeds and seeing them sprout and doing all that. What I don't like as much is planting them. That's not as fun. But it has to get done, otherwise it's wasteful. And last year, I was better, but still not great about getting all the things done in the time they needed to get done. So this year, in, I think, February, I sat down with everything I needed, and I made a calendar that carries through harvest. Here's when you got to start these seeds. Here's when you got to start these seeds. Here's when these seeds, in theory, it's all sprouted. You got to plant them here. Here's when you're harvesting this. Here's when you're harvesting that. So I've got a whole plan that's most of the Sundays from now through September, and we will see how that goes. Do a little bit every day. There's more I've got to do this coming Sunday. I've got seeds on the way that I got to plant. Just there's always something to do. I don't think of my land as as land with a garden. I think of it as a very, very small farm, because there's always stuff to do. There's always a ton to do, and I've even considered buying a tractor for my 1 acre because there's that much to do, and there's that much that I could be reshaping. One of my clients is also my property management landscaper guy, and he was going to bring over the tractor. And maybe he'll still bring over the tractor because there's stuff to do. Last question. And I saved 99% no. Go deep into that. But bottom line, I think that the majority of politicians are a different breed. They're a different type of person. I do not jive with that. I think I would be incredibly frustrated. I have a hard time going to meetings with 10 people and things taking so long to get done. I can only imagine what it would be like having to deal with 2 houses of Congress and 550-ish people, all there with their own ideas, their own agendas, their own constituencies, their own lobbyists, their own responsibilities. I had a conversation with someone the other day. I believe we all want the same things. If you get really, really deep into it, we all want the same things, but we have different ideas of how to get there. We all want to feel safe and happy and healthy, and we all want opportunity, and we all want freedom. And there's probably some others we can put on the list. But how we achieve that, that's where we all differ. And we, especially politically, spend so much time focusing on those differences that we forget about the fact that we're all much more alike than we are the same. The same thing I've said about martial arts, you can say about people. But I did say 99%. So why is that 1% there? Well, first, because I rarely say never. And secondly, I don't think I would enjoy it, but I think I would be good at it. I think I would be incredibly frustrated. I think I would be a one-term president because I wouldn't be able to stand it for longer. And the joke that I've made is I would be assassinated before the election. Because I think there is a portion of this country, of any group, whose fear and insecurity drives such tremendously selfish action. We see this in martial arts too, right? It's the you can't train with anyone else mentality. It's the fear. And that happens in every walk of life, in every group, it's always there. So I think that those people, I think people who operate from a place of fear and selfishness would find me to be a tremendous threat to that. Because, hey, you know me. My body of work is pretty darn open. And I don't think that they would like the idea of me running things. I mean, there are already people who don't like that I'm running what I do, which is very little. You can't please people all the time. You can't please all the people all the time. And there are some people you can never please. So, yeah, I don't want to. But I guess you never say never. I have I think the sweet spot in politics, if I was going to get in, would be state senator if I'm talking about Vermont. If I lived in most states, but Vermont is one of those few states where we have more senators than reps. We have 2 senators. Everybody has 2 senators. We only have 1 rep because we have 630,000 people. We have a very small population. And I think it'd be just easier to get elected as a senator because there's 2. But that's not on the agenda anytime soon. I look at people who are on the select board or town council, and I look at how much work they put in, and I think it's insane. I just, oh, have fun. I'm gonna go over here and not go to meetings for the rest of my life. I still have a lot of meetings. I don't like meetings. I just like getting work done. But sometimes meetings are necessary. And I try to only meet with my clients when it's necessary. That was a fun question, Gabe. Thank you. And thank you to Frank for questions and jokes and the reliability of questions and jokes. I want more questions. I want more jokes. I want more statements. Give me more things to respond to. The show is more fun when there are more of you chiming in. So, all right, moving forward. I'm going to sit here and drink some coffee. I'm going to not do a lot this morning. I've got to go 8:30. I got to go get the tires swapped on the car. I'm probably not going to do much before then. Because one of the things I'm starting to realize is that despite the fact that there is less of a time commitment in this pandemic, there is a much stronger emotional commitment. And I need to be more aware of that, more sensitive to that in myself. And so I'm trying to dial back my productivity, my attempts at productivity, in favor of self-care. So that's where I'm at. All right. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care. Peace.